Well, they actually did it. I mean, you got to hand it to them. It's a bold move in modern times where people can't even afford to pay for their groceries. But Sony has said that starting from 2028, they won't be manufacturing physical discs anymore for any of their games. PlayStation discs will effectively become extinct in 2028. And there are so many things to talk about here. First of all, I just want to say that I think this means that the PlayStation 6 is going to appear in 2028, because I can't imagine that they would have a PS6 around with physical discs only to then cut them off. So I think 2028 is when the PS6 is launching. Second of all, you might not care about that because you're probably not going to buy it anyway, because the PS6 is going to cost, I'm going to say it's going to cost over $1,000, maybe even over £1,000. So you might not care because that might just be completely out of your price range anyway for a luxury item. You know, you probably pay over £1,000 for a phone or something, but you use that every single day of your life. You need that to survive, really. PlayStation, no, it's just a luxury item. Who's going to pay $1,000 or £1,000 for a console? Some people will. After Sony's recent price hikes of the PS5, the sales of that have actually dropped like a stone. So this is a bold move here. I mean, the big thing it's going to do is just completely kill off the used market. I mean, to be fair, Switch 2 games are still being sold physically, but in terms of the PlayStation ecosystem, the used market will just be completely eradicated. You won't be able to buy games used, you won't be able to sell games. If they still do physical releases with codes in the box for some reason, then that's just completely pointless because you just can't sell them because you've already used the code. It's a one-time code. The piece of plastic in that case is just set dressing. And the used market is great right now for people because of the fact that it's often cheaper to buy a game pre-owned than it is to buy a game new, so that helps out people that would otherwise be priced out of the market. By completely getting rid of discs as a whole, there's going to be a whole section of the PlayStation audience that just simply will not be able to partake in gaming anymore. So they're wiping out a section of their customer base. How big is that section of their customer base? I don't actually know, but it just seems a bit silly. Next, I think this spells the end for Blu-rays, because if the PlayStation 6 doesn't have a disc drive, which I think it's fair to say that it won't, then that's going to stop people from being able to play their Blu-rays. Now, you can get separate standalone Blu-ray players, but they're becoming an increasingly rare breed nowadays. Many companies have just completely stopped making Blu-ray players, and the ones that are left are actually quite ancient. You got something like the Panasonic UB820, I think it is, which I don't have, but I know that's considered to be the best overall 4K Blu-ray player. That is like 8 years old or something at this point. And there's issues like disc skipping, and Blu-ray players are ancient and they're not making many new ones. The ones that are being made new are companies that charge exorbitant amounts for them, like Magnetar Blu-ray players, which are just ridiculous. So effectively, by killing off the disc drive on their PlayStation consoles and killing off physical games full stop on their console, they are taking that first step towards killing off the Blu-ray industry. And I know that the industry's been heading in this direction for a while now. Physical games, physical movies, physical books. Well, actually, I'm not sure about physical books because there are still tons and tons and tons of physical bookstores around the world. I think the death of the physical book industry has been greatly exaggerated, but the physical movie industry, the physical games industry, that really has been trending digital for quite some time now, just because streaming is so much easier in terms of movies and TV. And with video games, well, let's just take a step back for a second. Digital gaming is more convenient, but it is also a lot more expensive and a lot less consumer friendly. Now, I say that, of course, but I've also become more of a digital gamer myself over the years, because after moving house, I had so many games. I've still kept a ton of my old PS2, PS3 games, DS, 3DS, whatever. But the more modern consoles, I got to the point where I just thought, you know, is it really worth getting a physical game? Because these days you require, in a lot of cases, day one patches for the games to actually work properly. I mean, sure, you can still play them off the disc, you know, version 1.0, but sometimes there are bug fixes that are just desperately needed that are in that day one patch. So I became more of a digital gamer, but to kill off the physical market entirely is a mistake. It shouldn't be all physical or all digital in the market. It should be physical and digital. You should be able to choose between them depending on your preference. And just because physical gaming is just becoming less popular as the years go on doesn't mean that it shouldn't continue to exist for those that need it. I mean, are discs even that expensive to make? I don't think they are, really. But personally, I think this decision has been made now because of the fact that AI has absolutely decimated pricing worldwide in the tech industry, as in everything is just becoming so much more expensive. And I think Sony are looking at that thinking, well, how do we make sure that we don't hemorrhage money when we're releasing this new console? So they're not hemorrhaging money, now. And the way to do that is to make sure that retailers don't get a cut of the money. It's to make sure that Sony gets as much of the pie as possible so that they don't collapse. I mean, that's why this is happening, because I'm not entirely convinced that the PlayStation 6 would have been all digital if the AI apocalypse hadn't happened. When I saw the news this morning, my heart really did sink. I had a gut feeling like, oh my God, because we've been talking about this for so long now, could gaming go all digital in the future? But it always felt like an out there kind of situation. Now it's reality. So what are we going to do? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do is not buy a PS6 at the moment because yeah, I'm mostly digital. But this is a practice that I just can't get behind. Physical games should still exist. I'm a big believer in game preservation, and I believe you can do that in both digital and physical formats, but physical formats are so important just in case, Sony servers go down or something, just in case they go bankrupt and everything collapses. And you need physical backups and you need digital backups. You need both. Why not both? Porque no los dos, But at the moment, like I said, the sales of the PS5 have dropped like a stone since Sony raised the prices so much recently. So I don't see that stopping anytime soon. I mean, it really just feels like a lot of these mega corporations are watching the money just bleed out from them. And they're like, how do we stop this from happening? I know. We'll do more AI, just constantly shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over again. And the consequences of that reach so far and wide to the point where people can't even afford the devices that they need to use AI. This is the stupid thing about it for me. People can't afford to buy new technology, but you need technology to use AI, right? You need a basic tablet in order to use AI. You need a basic phone. You need something that is electronic, but people don't have the money to buy them because they are too focused on spending their precious cash on food and water. The whole thing is just completely stupid, but I guess that's a whole nother discussion. For now, let's just mourn the loss of physical PlayStation games because it was a good run. And you know what? I think I'm just going to leave this video here. Ho ho ho, me hearties. I'll see you in the next video.